There's so many of you. Thanks.
Like, everyone at the convention is here right now. This is incredible.
I'm always convinced that nobody's going to show up to see me, and I'm always pleasantly surprised. So thank you for choosing to spend a little bit of your time today with me.
Well, thank you for being here with us. If I wasn't up here, I'd be in line down there, and you already do have a line.
That's awesome.
So I guess just to get things started, and whenever I have the opportunity to sit with the guest that was on Star Trek, I like to mention that my maiden name is Riker. So,
amazing.
Right?
That's super cool.
Yes. So I feel like it's a part of me growing up with Star Trek and The Next Generation.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there was maybe a day of shooting or a particular scene that stood out for you.
I am so overwhelmed with joyful, meaningful memories from working on Next Generation, and I've been revisiting them a lot lately as part of my work with the Ready Room as the Picard After Show. And I have been thinking a lot about that time, and I honestly have to tell you, the most wonderful and meaningful part of my Star Trek experience is the unconditional love and support and kindness the cast gave me. I didn't get that at home, and getting it from my Star Trek family was such an incredible gift, and I didn't fully appreciate it and fully realize it actually until yesterday. When I was talking to LeVar and Marina, there's on Picard there are two young actors, and Issa is 21 and Evan is 20, and I'm old enough to be their dad, and they are like the new Star Trek kids, and I love them, and I feel really protective of them because I was them. And I was telling Issa, you're going to your first con, and I just want to tell you something I wish someone had told me when I was your age. It's okay to say no. You do not have to let that creepy dude hug you. You don't have to sign that picture that makes you uncomfortable. You don't have to let people violate your personal boundaries because you're on a TV show. And no one ever told me that. And I was constantly pushed out of my comfort zone. And I told her, I'm like, look, you're young, you're a woman, you're gonna get pushed around, and I'm just telling you, it is okay to be like, F you, I'm not doing that, right?
I love that.
So I related that to LeVar and Marina yesterday, and they both were like, that's such incredibly good advice. That's like, how kind of you to do that. And I realized, I was never praised that way by my dad. Like, I was never made to feel incredibly important and special and super loved, but I got that from the cast of Star Trek. They were the parents I needed, and I didn't even realize how much they did that for me and how valuable that was until I thought about how I just never really got that at home. So my biggest memory of Star Trek, the overwhelming memory, the most important thing, more important than any character moment, more important than like the cool stuff, like getting to be in a shuttlecraft with Picard was awesome, and like getting to beam down to a planet the first time was amazing, and like all that stuff was great. But the thing that's the most important and the thing that means the most to me that I will carry for the rest of my life is how loved I know I am by my castmates.
That's awesome. Wow.
I broke this chair.
Way to go. Wow. Okay. So before we actually throw it to the audience, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, obviously here at GalaxyCon, we have the opportunity to walk around and see so many incredible cosplays.
The cosplay here is fantastic.
Okay, so if you were going to cosplay this weekend, what would you cosplay as?
The easiest cosplay for me to do is Season 2 Riker. I know how to sit in the chair. I know how to lead with my shoulder. My wife turned 50 this year, and we had this amazing 50th birthday party for her. I don't know if any of you listened to First Wave on Sirius XM, but Richard Blade came and DJ'd Anne's birthday party for us, which was a big deal because we grew up in Los Angeles where he was on the radio every day. It was this huge, amazing, incredible thing. And everybody came dressed up in their 80s cosplay, and it was great. My wife dressed up as Boy George from the Karma Chameleon video. like with the things in her hair and everything. She's Ann Wheaton on Instagram. If you go back to August of last year, you can see it. It will blow your mind. It is amazing. To that party, I went in. I own a Star Trek uniform because I'm a fan, and I bought it from Anovos. It's great. A red command uniform. I also have a green Captain Kirk uniform, which I wore to the premiere of The Last Jedi. True story. Just true story. Just like the bit on Big Bang Theory, I did that in real life at Grauman's Chinese Theater, and our local news was there. So, like, listen. It's going to sound weird to say this, and I don't mean this in an arrogant way. It's just a fact. I am famous in the world, but I was on my local news, you guys. Channel 9 put me on the news for the premiere in my Star Trek uniform, and the lady was like, "Why are you dressed up as Star Trek?" And I go, "I'm a really big Star Trek fan." And she goes, "But you're at a Star Wars premiere." And I go, "Yeah, I did this once before, and it went over really well, so I'm doing it again." She had no idea what I was talking about. It was so cool. And then the news anchors were like, "Do you know you were talking to Wil Wheaton, who was the kid on Star Trek?" And she was like, "I had no idea." Wow. So I went to Anne's 50th birthday party cosplaying as Riker, and everybody got it. Immediately, there was no question about who I was.
That's amazing.
It was really, really fun.
I love that. I want to try to find this news story now, too.
I'm sure it's online somewhere. It was at KCAL at home. It was a very big deal.
Awesome. All right, so if it's okay with you, we're going to take some questions from the audience. So what's your name?
Hi, my name's Ben. I'm from Richmond.
Hi, Ben.
Hey, Will. My question is there any possibility of the Axis of Anarchy getting back together to raid for a guild reboot in the near distant future?
That's a great question, and actually gets a lot more of a response than I would expect from something that's so old. You would have to ask Felicia that question. If she wanted to work together again on anything, I would say yes, because I adore her, and I really respect her, and she's just really smart, and I am lucky to get to work with her. I don't know if we have another story to tell in that world. I kind of wrapped it all up when I wrote the comic book. But if she wanted to work together again on literally anything, I would say yes.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Hey, Will, I'm Josh. I'm from
Hi,
Chesapeake.
Josh.
Hey, nice to meet you. You're obviously known for many, many things, but the one thing I actually wanted to talk to you about was your narrating Ready Player One.
Thanks.
I wanted to ask you.
Thank you very much. I'm really proud of it.
Wanted to ask how that process was that you were selected to do that, and just what that looked like behind the scenes.
So I've known Ernie since before he was Ernie Klein. I knew him when he was a slam poet in Austin. And I really admired him. I thought he was creative. I thought he was funny. He's a really nice person. He's very kind and genuine. And he told me about Ready Player One, and I thought it was a really awesome sounding book. I love the idea of the story. And when they were going to do an audiobook, the publishers asked him if he had an actor in mind, and he said me. And they asked me if I would do it, and I was like, yes. It took about 2 weeks. The way that I work on audiobooks, I work between 5 and 6 hours a day, which doesn't sound like a lot for those of you who have actual real jobs. But for an actor to perform for 5 to 6 hours straight is really exhausting and really tiring. So that's about how long I can go before I just run out of gas and I start making mistakes because I'm tired. So it took about 2 weeks to record it. It was an incredible gift that it premiered at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. I get to say for the rest of my life, I'm a New York Times #1 best-selling audiobook narrator. That feels pretty cool. The consensus among fandom is that the movie is a fine adaptation in its own way, but it's not the canonical version of the story. And the consensus among fandom, and I realize that coming through me, this is definitely skewed. I do not have a control group to validate this. There is no way this assertion is getting peer reviewed. The consensus is that my version, the audio version, is the canonical version of that story. And that's just a real blessing, and I'm really grateful for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, since you are mentioning having to record for that length of time, do you have any pre-recording rituals that you do?
Yeah, so like I quit drinking 4 years ago, but like before then, I would like not drink any alcohol for 24 hours beforehand because it dries you out. I would make sure that I get enough sleep the night before. When I am working, I have a weird concoction of like throat coat tea and honey and lemon that I use to keep my voice sort of like lubricated and gentle. And then an interesting thing, I don't know if this is true or not, but I had read somewhere that like doing things that are mentally intense burns calories. So you can get hungry if you're doing something that's really mentally intense. So I am constantly eating like Kind bars throughout the day. I never stop eating from the time that I start.
Plug for Kind bars. They're very good.
They're great. I love them. Non-sponsored post, please. Hashtag like and subscribe. Hello.
My name's Mackenzie, and who's your favorite Starfleet captain?
My favorite Starfleet captain. That is a loaded question, ma'am. It's going to be Captain Riker. It's going to be Captain Riker because Jonathan Frakes was the dad that I needed and didn't get. And I love him. I mean, I love them all. Kirk, Cisco, Picard, like, they're great. Janeway, I love them. They're fantastic. But because I adore Jonathan Frakes so much and because he's so important to me, Riker's always going to be my favorite.
Number one.
Yeah, he is my number one.
Hi.
Hi.
You're a gamer, or I've heard you're a gamer. If you could get your
I've heard that too, by the way.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Confirmed?
It's a rumor.
Yeah.
If you could get your co-stars from The Big Bang Theory together with your co-stars from Star Trek: The Next Generation to play an ultimate game of Cards Against Humanity, who would you get?
I mean, I would just grab everybody. I mean, if it's the ultimate game, it's
Yes.
everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah,
Whoopi,
I would-
Patrick, Jonathan,
Everybody.
Everybody. All right.
Everybody. Yeah.
I wish they would do that on television.
Yeah.
That'll never happen.
No.
But you know what? It's important to have dreams. I just realized something. Mackenzie, are you still in this room? Mackenzie, I just wanted to tell you, it is so brave to stand up in front of a room full of people and ask a question, and I'm so proud of you for having the courage to come to the microphone and ask a question. That is awesome. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you don't have strength and power, because you totally do. I broke the chair again. Go ahead.
Hello, my name
Hi.
is Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
Nice to meet you. My question is, what was your favorite actor to work with on Star Trek?
Probably, so all the adults on Star Trek had different roles. They filled different roles for me. I wanted to be the actor that Patrick was. I wanted to be the super cool human that Jonathan was. I wanted to be funny like Brent was. I wanted to be just super awesome like LeVar was. Like, they were my role models, right? But the moments that really stand out for me are the moments when I worked alone with Patrick. And there is an episode, and I don't remember the title of it, but Picard and Wesley crash on a planet in a shuttlecraft, and Wesley has to keep Picard alive. And I saw Patrick about 2 weeks ago, and I got to tell him, just thank you for being such a kind and important part of my life. And Patrick told me that he loved working with me, and that he felt the same kind of excitement and anticipation to work with me that he felt to work with Jonathan and Brent. And that made me feel so special and so important. And it made me feel like those moments that really mattered to me, the ones where I was like, I'm doing a good job and they're proud of me, were mostly in scenes just with him, because I was working so hard to not let him down. And the fact that my efforts to not let him down were recognized is an incredible, amazing experience for me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi.
Hi, my name is Sebastian.
Hi,
I'm
Sebastian.
from Orange County, New York. So my question for you is, Stand By Me is easily my favorite Stephen King movie.
Thank you.
Yes, and it was a wonderful story of a relationship between you and the other friends.
Yeah.
And My question to you was, what was it like working with the late River Phoenix, especially way back then?
He was incredible. We all knew. I mean, we were kids. We were little kids. None of us knew what we were doing. We were doing what Rob Reiner told us to do. We were doing our best to interpret that material and like not make mistakes. And one of the reasons that film is so successful and so relatable and so timeless is Rob's casting of 4 boys who were those characters. So all we really had to do was just exist in those moments, and it all came together, and we're incredibly lucky. I mean, there has not been another movie like Stand By Me since we did it 30-something years ago. So one of the things that I clearly remember about him is how we all knew he was the guy that was going to be the incredible actor. He was going to have the Tom Hanks career or the Philip Seymour Hoffman career. Like, he was going to be an actor who defined his generation. We knew it when he was 15. And it is an absolute tragedy that he's no longer with us. It's just so weird that I'm twice as old as he was when he died. And we never got to find out what he was going to do. And that breaks my heart.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, good morning.
How's it going, Wil?
Afternoon, rather.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's
it's
all
morning
good.
for my brain.
I'm John. Nice to meet
Hi.
you. I was a big fan of those books, Memories of the Future, that you printed
Oh,
years
thanks
ago.
a lot. Those were really fun.
Yeah, that was awesome to read. It was like, definitely was you.
For those of you who don't know, Memories of the Future is a book that I wrote that is humorous Mystery Science Theater style reviews of the first season of Star Trek: The Next Generation when we're not good. So it's like part high school yearbook, part loving memoir, part what in the world were we thinking? I'm really proud of it. It's a very funny book, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
It was fun. And during that odd era of TNG, one of my favorite episodes was Conspiracy, when
Yeah.
the space bugs are trying to take over Starfleet.
Yeah, sure. We loved
I've always
it
thought
too.
it was a shame that they never finished that plot.
Yeah, I actually had this idea to write a story about those creatures, whatever they were, that they would be like related to the Trill, because they were kind of similar to that. And I had a whole story arc written and designed, and I was going to do it for, I shouldn't say what I was going to do it for, but I was going to do it for a particular company in a particular property in a particular world, and they were super into it until they just totally weren't. I did all this work on spec to like go and do it, and then they just ghosted me. So I never got to tell that story. But that was one of my favorite episodes too, and I always kind of hoped, ooh, this is going to set up something cool for the next season, and it never happened.
So to that, my question is, what are some plot lines that you wished had been wrapped up in Next Generation?
I would just like, I feel sort of like Wesley was like, peace out, y'all. And like, then we never really found out what happened with him. And I have headcanon closure on his story arc, but I would love for there to be like official canonical closure on his story arc. I will say, because I know someone's going to ask this, I haven't been asked to work on Picard. If I were, I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I haven't been asked. If they ask, I will do everything I can to get to yes, because I would love that opportunity to go and revisit that character and see where he is now.
Thank you, Wil.
You're welcome. Hi.
Hi, I'm Emily.
Hi, Emily.
It's very nice to meet you, Mr. Wheaton.
Thank you.
I was just going to ask, because I know I'm 14, so I know being a kid, it's hard work just being a kid. But
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, but what on earth was that like for you? I mean, to have all of the hours of filming and having to work all the time, and then people recognize you and you have to do all of the celebrity things. What was that like, having to do that as a kid?
I hated it. I hated all the celebrity stuff. I hated the teen magazine parties and the photo shoots and all of that weird publicity stuff. I never really wanted to be an actor. That was my mom's dream. She like made me, she pushed me into that, and I just accepted that that's what I was going to do. And I remember feeling like, well, if I'm going to do this, it's going to be about the work. I don't want all this attention. This attention is weird. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. But it was real important to my mom. So she made me do all that publicity stuff. And it just made me feel like a fraud, because I felt like no one is paying attention to me because of the work. No one's paying attention to me because of what I am doing intrinsically that gives me intrinsic value. It's because I'm like pseudo famous. And it felt empty and useless to me, and it left me with a giant hole in my spirit that took years to sort of fill in. At the same time, I loved being on the set. I loved working with my family. I loved being there with all of those wonderful humans, and I looked forward to it every day. But you're 14, there's days where you're like, I don't want to do this. Like, I just want to be alone right now. Everything sucks. I hate everyone. Like, and that's a totally normal thing to go through. I am so incredibly grateful that social media didn't exist when I was 14 years old.
Oh, yes.
Because now children, especially children who are in the public eye, are not allowed to be children. You're not allowed to screw up. And that was a real hard thing with me, is that, you know, my mom made me start acting when I was 7. That's when my childhood ended. And I was in an adult world where people were constantly telling me to behave like an adult. Well, guess what? You're not an adult. Our brains aren't fully functional yet. We haven't made our mistakes and learned from them, and it's unreasonable, and it's unfair to expect children to behave like adults in any situation. I want to tell you something that's really important to me that I wish someone had told me when I was your age. You have incredible ideas. You are aware of the world around you. You care deeply about things. I don't know what they are, but you care deeply about things. And there are adults in your life who are minimizing that and telling you that it doesn't matter just because you're young. They are wrong. Don't ever let an adult tell you that the things you care about between now and when you identify as an adult yourself, don't ever let someone tell you that those things don't matter, because it is young people, it is your generation that is going to save the world from my generation. And I love it, and I love you, and I value what you have to contribute to the world.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Sydney, and I met you yesterday, and I sort of kind of have a comment to you. I wanted to thank you because you got me back into Star Trek,
Awesome.
and I really struggled when I was younger with reading and comprehension.
Mhm.
So with your character, then I was able to kind of like start reading like Star Trek novels, and now today I'm a librarian at
That
an
is
academic
amazing.
college. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. I want to go back in time and tell some dickhead who's yelling about how much they hate me on Usenet that someday I inspired a woman to become a librarian. Eat a dick, dude from 1988. Thank you for sharing that with me. And listen, I am so happy for you. And I'm so honored that I get to be part of your story. Thanks for sharing that with me. Hi.
Hi, I'm April.
Hi, April.
My question is, how much of your actual personality comes through in the portrayal of yourself in The Big Bang Theory?
In the early seasons, very little, because in the early seasons, he's really a troll, and he's really enjoying, like, messing with Sheldon. But Wil Wheaton on The Big Bang Theory actually has, like, a redemption arc. He goes from nemesis to mentor, and by the end, there's not a lot of daylight between the two of us. And the big turn for that happened when Penny and Leonard went to the coffee shop and sat down with that Wil Wheaton, and he and I got to say, auditions suck, and being an actor is really hard, and nobody knows how hard it is. All everybody ever sees is the easy part. And like getting to say those things out loud and getting to like live my truth and share my truth was incredibly powerful for me. And that was when I felt like he and I got very close to each other. We're still distinctly different people, but that's about as close as we ever got to each other.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Will. This is
Hi.
Jennifer. Hey, I'm also from Richmond. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate having you out here. And I want you to, I really appreciate you as Wesley, because I grew
Thanks.
up watching Star Trek Next Gen. It was so inspirational to see you. I was never an anti-Wesley. You tell that dickhead.
Yeah, right?
My mom also wanted me to tell you she appreciates you on Big Bang Theory. So, moms,
Thank you.
am I right?
Yeah.
But my question was, I particularly, I mean, Guild was great. A lot of your other projects are great. I loved Tabletop. Just
Thanks, me too.
You and friends sitting around a table
Yeah.
having fun. Do you have any particularly funny moments or whatever that didn't make it on camera? Like I loved in Ticket to Ride, the table got slammed, all
Yeah,
the pieces
right.
went everywhere, and
Yeah.
that was hilarious to me. Do you have a favorite moment from Tabletop?
That is my favorite what in the world are we going to do moment, because it's so funny. So for those of you who don't know, I have this show called Tabletop where we play board games with my friends. And in the first season, I asked my wife to come play on the show with us. Because we play games at home in our living room. And she was like, I'm so worried that I'm going to screw something up. I don't want to do that. And I was like, you're not going to screw anything up. It's going to be just like playing games at home. It'll be great. So she comes in. We play the entire game, Ticket to Ride, which is a game where you put about 180 little plastic trains down on a board. And as we are tallying up the score to make sure every train is out on the board, we're tallying up the score to make sure that everything is even. And Anne is telling a story to our friend Colin, and she gets to the climax. I broke the chair again. She gets to the climax.
I think that means the chair is yours.
She gets to the climax of the story and hits the table to punctuate the climax of the story, and 180 little trains go, "Sweet freedom!" And they launch into the air and come crashing down. For the most part, we left those moments in because we felt they were really important and were really relevant to the experience of gaming. I told editorial, when there is conflict between what's happening on the table and what's happening around the table, always edit in what went around the table, because that's what's more important. What we're doing with Tabletop is we're not showing here's how you play the game. We're showing here's why you play the game. And all of the moments actually made it in. I don't think we cut anything out. We may have cut something extremely dirty out of the Cards Against Humanity episode, but that seems really unlikely. I mean, I probably would have told them the more offensive it is, the more we should highlight it. Because at the beginning of this episode, I say at the beginning of the episode, this is not a normal Tabletop episode. This is offensive. This is awful. This is terrible. This is a party game for terrible, terrible people. We are saying and doing terrible things. This will offend you, I promise. And if you're gonna be offended, do not watch this episode. And people still watched it and still complained at me about it. Why are nerds so good at standing in line and we're so bad at following directions?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you.
So do you consider yourself a competitive person?
Not at all. No, and in fact, one of my really important values that I passed on to my children when they were playing like Little League and when they were playing tabletop games with us, and one of the values that I've told everyone that comes to play tabletop is we should never sacrifice the joy of playing a game because we're trying to win. If you're in a tournament, yeah, sure. But like I played semi-professional poker for a long time, and I played in lots of tournaments. And I always made an effort to like make the best choice I could make with the information that was available to me and enjoy the experience that I'm having. And if I lose, I lose. You know, and if I win, awesome. And that was, so I tried to compete without being competitive.
I love that. Awesome. Hi, I'm Jen. Super unique name for people my age.
Yeah, right?
So I've watched your whole career because I'm a little bit older than you.
Okay.
And it's been neat to see.
Well, thank you.
It's been interesting to see the evolution from actor and all the different roles you've done to where you are now, and also your public advocacy and your writing. And I wanted to say that that's been fascinating, but I really appreciate your voice and the stance that you've made on a lot of things. And I've been particularly... You're welcome. Thank you. I've been particularly influenced by your pieces on exposure, and also about. I reference that one a lot because I try to write. Don't always succeed, but I try.
Me
but
too.
But also, your piece about mental illness was really important. So I wanted to say thank you for that.
Thank you
because
so
it's
much.
important for people in positions like you to help reduce the stigma.
I 100%
related
agree
to
with you.
mental illness.
I have depression and anxiety. I take medication every morning, and I am not ashamed of that, and neither should you. No one should be ashamed because they live with mental illness. It's just a thing that exists. And people suffer. I suffered for 10 years because my parents behaved like it was an idea, not a thing that exists. They were embarrassed, so I felt ashamed. And no parent should make their kid feel that way, ever. And I am doing my best to be the person I need in the world, right? So who I needed was someone to say, you're not broken, you're just sick. Here, we're gonna get you better. We're gonna get you some pills, we're gonna get you a therapist, you're gonna work it out, you're gonna have a support network, you can live your very best life. And I'm doing it.
Thank you.
I wish that I had done that 20 years ago, but I just didn't know because nobody was talking about it. It is my dream that by the time I am at the end of my life, it will be completely unremarkable to talk about mental illness the same way we talk about every other kind of physical illness.
Thank you.
So thank you for that.
Well, that wasn't actually my question. My really quick question is, how excited were you to work on Sharknado?
So freaking excited.
Really? 'Cause it was
So excited. Spoiler alert, I get killed in the first couple of minutes of Sharknado. It's 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Sharknado 2. My wife and I were such big fans of the first Sharknado that she came with me to the set to like see it all. And the woman that was supposed to be playing my wife in Sharknado wasn't able to come to the set that day, so they cast Anne to play my wife in Sharknado. And because she's not in Screen Actors Guild, she's not allowed to talk, but she is allowed to scream. And she did a great scream when I got the whole top half of my body sharked off
That was awesome.
by a flying shark in Sharknado 2. It's one of the finest moments of my career.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, just a heads up, we have about 5 minutes left.
Great. Everybody else who's left in line, if you can try to make your questions yes, no questions, we'll get through the whole line. I call this the lightning round. So try to make your questions yes, no questions, and we'll get through everybody else. I don't want to leave anybody disappointed. Go.
Nope, no pressure.
I believe in you.
I'm Trisha from Gloucester.
Hi.
I love the Ready Room and
Thanks,
what,
me
what
too.
you bring to it is awesome. Are you going to be doing that with a Discovery?
They haven't asked me. I would, if they asked me, I would do it in a second. I have loved hosting Ready Room. I've loved all the interviews I've gotten to do. I am so thrilled and honored and grateful that I feel like I am bringing together 2 parts of my life. I am bringing together this old part of my life and bridging it into this new part of my life. I am entering a new phase of my career. I am working primarily as a writer and an audiobook narrator, but I'm also finally getting to host things. And I loved that because it gives me an opportunity to be the audience's voice in a thing that people really care about. And I am about to start a show that I guess I'm going to tell you all about right now.
Ooh, okay.
So I am about to start hosting a show called Game Master. Game Master is a reality competition show where we bring people of all demographics, a ethnically and racially diverse cast of people are coming together from all over the country to play this enormous list of video games in like a round-robin tournament format. They are playing for a $100,000 grand prize. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about this, so there's a really cool thing, but I probably shouldn't say it, so I'm not going to say that. But it's going to come out in just a couple of months, and I'm so excited because I was having a conversation with my manager about this, and he was like, listen, we have to make a choice. You're hosting Ready Room, and like fans love it, and you're very, very good at it. These people want you to host this show. How do you feel about it? And I was like, are you kidding me? It's like tabletop for video games. That sounds amazing. I'm like, yes, sign me up. And he said, but I want you to be clear. The industry is going to view you not as an actor. They'll view you as a host. And I was like, the industry hasn't viewed me as an actor for 20 years. It doesn't matter. This is great. I get to retire as an actor, and I get to start a new career as a host, hosting shows that I love and care about. And I feel like I am in this moment that I've waited for since I was like 15 years old, where like my life is going to start. And I'm so excited for it.
So awesome.
Thank you.
Congrats. That sounds, wow.
I broke the chair again.
Hi, I'm Connor.
Hi, Connor.
I'm from Yorktown, Virginia.
Congratulations.
I'm in the Thespian Honor Society from my school.
Awesome.
What advice would you give if I decide to become an actor when I grow up? What advice would you give for becoming a good actor?
Being an actor is about being vulnerable and honest and truthful and keeping your performance simple. The difference between performances that completely captivate us and performances that feel a little off is the captivating performances really live in the actor. They live very simply and very honestly in an actor. And when you're doing your preparation, when you're learning your lines and breaking down your scene, you want to get as close to the simple truth of the scene as you possibly can get, and keep, like, it's like reducing fractions in math. Just get down until it is at the smallest, narrowest definition that you can possibly get. And then forget it all and react to the actor in the scene with you. It's that simple and that complicated. And you will do it for the rest of your life, and you'll never perfect it. And that's part of the beauty of being an actor.
So I should just be good at math, and that's all?
Yes. Well, listen, and I'm a really good actor, and I'm terrible at math. So there's hope for all of us that are not good at math.
And hopefully the next 2 questions aren't math questions.
Yeah, right?
So.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for your
sir.
question. Break a leg, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Hi.
Hey, Will, I'm Craig from Richmond. And
Hi.
you said you had an idea in your head. I know time is short. An idea in your head of where you wanted the character to go, regardless of what may or may not be in the works in Picard. Can you just say a few sentences about what you hope for Wesley?
Sure. So in my head canon,
Yeah.
Wesley Crusher is a Time Lord. In my head canon, Wesley, after leaving the plane of reality that we all exist in, spent a lot of time with the Traveler, traveling through space and time to significant moments, to learn from them, to experience them, and to understand what makes different species tick, and to really understand what makes humanity special. Like, what sets us apart from Klingons and Romulans and Tholians and Pakleds? Like, what is it about us? And that is what he is trying to do. And in my headcanon, he is graceful and gentle and very wise and really patient. He's my idealized self. And I would love to believe that, presented with that opportunity, that he didn't just drive around in a Trans Am and like try to get laid.
Cool.
I mean,
Thanks.
not that there's anything wrong with that, but, you know, do the other stuff too.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Hi.
Hi, my name's Amy. I'm from Virginia Beach.
Hi.
I had a question. If you could go back in time
Yeah.
and tell yourself anything, what would it be? And do you regret where you went or how far you've come? Like, what would you tell your past self?
My favorite episode of Star Trek The Next Generation is Tapestry. Because at the end of Tapestry, Picard says, when I plucked on the thread of this thing that I'm ashamed of, that I wish I hadn't done, it unraveled the entire tapestry of my life. I have lived with a tremendous amount of pain. I had a really awful childhood, and I have suffered a lot. And I love my life. I could not love my life more. I adore my wife and my children. I am so grateful for my family. I am so grateful that I can earn a living. I'm so grateful that I have access to clean water, that I have all the food that I want, that I live in a beautiful, comfortable, safe house. I am so grateful for my life. I am where I am. I am who I am because of everything that has ever happened to me. The only thing that I would change, and I don't know if it would even work, and I don't know if it would even have the effect that I hope it would have, is I would take the child version of me who doesn't understand why his dad doesn't love him, and I would love him the way he deserves to be loved.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You made our day.
Thank you.
Say hi to Scout. Can you say hi to Scout?
Hi, Scout.
Thank you.
So before we wrap this up, we're actually going to bring in a photographer, if that's okay with you, but I wanted to know if you had any final thoughts to share with us today.
I want to tell you what are the most important things in the world to me, and I hope this will inspire some of you, particularly those of you who are younger. The fundamental rule in my life, where's my phone? I was texting with a friend of mine last night, and I want to tell you what she said because it was super cool. Where are you, Christina? My friend Christina is at PAX right now. And she said some very nice things about me, which I don't need to tell you. But I said, thank you. Treating people the way I want to be treated is a fundamental rule of my life. It is maybe the fundamental rule of my life. And she said, I truly believe that. There is so much about this world that is hard and at times unbearable, but letting people know they're respected goes so far. And this is the thing that I loved, and this is what I want to share with you. To honor people and give them their flowers while they can receive them is such a gift. We have choices to make every second of every day about how we're going to treat people. We can be patient or we can be rude. We can be kind or we can be cruel. We can be loving or we can be selfish. We all have choices to make. I challenge you to choose to be kind at every opportunity, even to unkind people, and give people their flowers while they are able to receive them. That is what I want to leave you with.
This is such an honor, not to just to share this space with you, but I think this panel and you have such a beautiful soul. This went
You're so kind. Thank you.
No, you're so kind.
Thanks.
And this went beyond your work and beyond all the incredible, stuff that you've given us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so
you.
much.
Oh, there's another thing that I wanted to tell you quick before you leave. Especially those of you who have children, my wife came to the con with me, and she wrote a kid's book that is super great, that I love, that I'm really proud of, that I really want you to see. It's called Piggy and Pug. Look in your programs for Ann Wheaton and go see her and tell her that I love her. Sure.
So before we wrap this up, we need all of you guys to participate. We're actually going to take a big group picture with Wil. We're going to have him hang out right in the center. And if you
I'm
guys
going to take a
make your
big
way-
silly selfie for my Instagram, too.
Perfect.
Okay, everybody. Okay, find the lens.
That's great, and it made it like a boomerang. Seriously, go look it on Instagram. It's so cool. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
We are ready.
All right, you let me know when, and we'll make them go crazy. All right, ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3! How'd we do? One more? We're checking. We're checking. Okay, we did it in one. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, for the incredible Wil Wheaton!